Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Lavonne Nichols Show. I am so happy to be here with you again. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. We had such a good time, and you know that the purpose of this show is to inform you, to inspire you, and bring some entertainment with some good conversation and amazing guests. And so I am so excited to have a special guest in the studio with me today. I am on a search for education, on a journey of just improving myself, and on this journey of professional and personal development, I had the opportunity to meet this guest today, which is professor, author, fundraiser extraordinaire, founder, like the list goes on and on. One of the reasons why I have him in the studio is Mr. Matthew Hugg. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you, and really no pressure, right?
No, just so much wisdom. I was like, where are we going to go in this interview? Because you have done so many great things in your life, and there's still so much more to go, because I see a little glimpse of where you're going with so many things. But so if you guys didn't know, I am a graduate student at Eastern University, so shout out to Eastern University, and that is where I met Professor Hugg, and I might call you that. I don't know, it feels so weird calling you that.
Well, really, it feels kind of weird being called professor. So.
I don't know, there might be a little bit of Professor Matt going on, and Matthew, but I met you there.
Right.
And I know that in the fundraising class that I took with you, anything dealing with financials and things like that, sometimes you get a little nervous. Might not be your specialty, but you made the class very fun. And it was very engaging. And because of your knowledge of nonprofit and the wide array, I thought it would be beneficial to have you come into the studio just to talk to the audience, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There are a lot of people who are doing great things in the community and could be a nonprofit, or some of them already have a nonprofit. And so I want to make sure that I provide resources and tools to help them along the way. Thank you again for coming.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Really, this is great.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you. I know I gave some little things, but where are you from?
Where am I from? Kind of the Philadelphia area. When I was a kid, we played gypsy a bit and went, Boston, Indiana, Philadelphia, Detroit, back to Philadelphia. But largely here, and went to school at a place called Juniata College out in central Pennsylvania, and really had no idea. Actually, I thought by this time I would be in a geology career.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
My degree's in geology, and anthropology and environmental biology, but largely geology.
Wow.
And yet, at the time, like a lot of people, got a solid liberal arts education, because when I came out of school, nobody was hiring.
Yeah.
And I ended up working for the Boy Scouts. I had been in scouting for a long time. I actually worked here in South Jersey. I worked in Gloucester County and then in Cape May. And our son came along, and we thought I had this illusion of doing less nights and weekends, and ended up at Lebanon Valley College in central PA near Hershey, and then University of Cincinnati, basically for the 1990s, where during these times, my first taste of fundraising was with the Boy Scouts, and it was really exhilarating. But I didn't do that much, because working scouting, it's membership recruitment and training and raising money. Professional scouters don't work with the kids. But then at Lebanon Valley College, I was in started fundraising, and then, like I said, took it to Cincinnati, got a master's degree in philanthropy and development from a school in Minnesota called St. Mary's University. It was the first program in fundraising in the country as a master's program. And then came back to Philadelphia, Ursinus College, University of the Arts, and in 2005, I think, I went on my own and started doing consulting, and that's when I really started to do teaching. Started in 2005, first at a community college, and then at Eastern in 2006, and since then I've taught at Eastern, but also at Penn, at Thomas Edison State College in New Jersey, back at Juniata, and then did some guest lecturing like at Villanova and a couple other places. But I have also always had my my business along the way. It was kind of a dual income kind of thing.
Right.
And lately I've gotten into kind of a confluence of circumstances. Sometimes you just see something and you say, yeah, I want to, go in that direction. And that's because I always say, follow the market, right? Follow where people were telling me I was good at things I needed to recognize in myself. So writing was one of them, and then teaching. And then also I found that I could put out, help other people put out their courses. And
we're going to get into your business and just kind of talk to people how they can actually get some, as you said, on-demand.
Yeah.
I did my homework. On-demand nonprofit help.
Yeah.
And so before we get into that,
no, that's fine.
I want to, because one thing you said while you were talking is that fundraising, you were exhilarated by it.
Yeah.
And I like to talk to people who have that type of zeal, because I might not have that type of zeal. Asking for money, depends on the circumstances, might be a little easier, but when you're asking on behalf of an organization, it might not be as
well, I don't know. I think we may have covered this, you and I, a long time ago. But it's I call it 1-to-1 for one.
Yes.
Right.
Like we're going back to class.
I know, really. Yeah, maybe I should be professor. Right. But really, though, it's 1-to-1. It's me to you for the person that we are raising money for. So, begging. Right? A lot of people say, oh, it feels like begging. Begging is 1-to-1 for me.
Right.
Think about when you ask your grandparents or your parents for money.
Right.
That's more akin to begging. But if you and I have this shared mission, you as a donor, me as a solicitor and somebody who works in the organization, to help that child, to help those, that animal, whatever it is that we're working for, that's what really makes a difference, is that we're doing it for them, and it's, will you partner with me?
Absolutely. So how do you find those people? I mean, generally speaking, for the audiences watching and, has a nonprofit, we'll talk to the people who just have a nonprofit and making that connection, that relationship, getting those people who actually have the same passion to help.
Well, it's kind of like, fundraising and job searches are hugely parallel. That, first of all, you have to have in your mind exactly the profile you're looking for.
Right.
What is it that, and for a job search, right? You want to have, what is the exact job I want? Now, the ideal job. Now, maybe not
kind of like
be
your
that
checklist of
well,
what you're looking for.
What you're looking for, but I want to be the regional manager for a Fortune 500 food company, whatever it is, right? Target that in. Well, you want to have that profile out there because you are more likely to see it if you have that profile in your head. Think of the car you drive, right? You drive I used to drive a PT Cruiser. I could see every kind. In fact, just the other day we saw a PT Cruiser. I was like, oh, I know exactly what, because you already have that defined in your brain. So your best bet is to start out to get an idea of exactly who it is you're looking for. Now, who? CIA.
Okay.
Right?
CIA.
Right. Doesn't mean you're going to spy on people.
Right.
No, what it means is capacity, interest, access.
Right.
And so people have to have the capacity to give the gift you're looking for.
Right.
They have to have interest in what your organization does, and you have to be able to connect to them.
Right.
So your first step is to find not people with capacity, but people with interest.
Right. Okay, so that's first.
That's first.
Okay.
Because if somebody loves you, they're going to do so much for you and give so much more than you would ever expect. Absolutely. And if they don't like you, you're lucky if you get $10, right? Right. Doesn't matter how much money they have.
Right.
It's just not going to work. So start with interest.
Right.
Now, access, right? It's all about, again, back to job search, right? It's about networking. Who do you connect to and being very specific about that and systematic. So you know that certain people of the kind, again, your profile, hang out in these kind of places, so you want to be there, you want to meet them, you want to be part of that world. And then you can identify what their interests are, eventually find out what their capacity is, and now you can ask for a gift.
Okay, so did you guys catch that?
Everybody get that?
CIA did not like trying to stalk folks, but you want to make sure that they have an interest and that you're in the right environments to grab those people.
Yeah, to work with them so that, again, back to 1-to-1 for one, so that you can work with them on your shared mission.
Right.
Because that interest part means that they have an interest in what you do.
Right.
If you help kids in after-school programs, maybe they benefited from that when they were a child. Or maybe their son or grandson, or they know a neighbor kid who does, right? And so having that shared interest is key.
Now, would you say that nonprofit is about, especially in this part of the conversation, relationship? Is that
totally? Yeah. Relationships is it. I mean, it's and you know what? It doesn't have to be a face-to-face relationship. Think about direct mail, right? Or social media, right? Either way, people develop relationships with folks that they never meet. I mean, what was the other night? It was the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
Well, how many people, are all about, I know all about that person. It's like you have a relationship with them, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of times you can develop relationships with people who you're not necessarily meeting, but they have common interests.
Right. Okay. So we are talking, and I knew it. I like to have a conversation, so I wanted to be free flowing, and so just diving in. We're going to take a small commercial break. I tell you guys, if you want to get a snack, go get a snack. Come right back. Just make sure it's a healthy snack, and then we will be back with Matt Hugg, Professor Hugg. I told you that. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to call him, but make sure you tune back in.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just want to eat like one, visit Rostelli Market Fresh, your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. Rostelli Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Welcome back to the Lavonne Nichols Show. I am here with author, professor, founder, president of nonprofit courses.
Dot Courses, yeah.
Dot Courses, Mr. Matthew Hugg. Thank you so much for coming again.
Glad to be here. It's great.
And we're having a great conversation just about the nonprofit world. And I want to talk a little bit about why we even have nonprofits. Why does the world need more nonprofits?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of folks get confused too.
Yeah.
Nonprofits fill that gap between what government will do for us and what business will do for us. And that's just, well, that's one of the reasons.
You summed it up very good.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's another thing too is that nonprofits will, in effect, vet or clear the people who are, we'll say, for lack of better terms, the deserving, right? There's been some things in the news lately, especially here in this region, about folks, giving directly to people, and that not working out quite so well.
Yep.
Right. Well, had that been done through a nonprofit context, it's the nonprofit who's responsible for making sure that it all works out well. That's their job. The other thing nonprofits do is either develop something that's new, like say education, higher education. Started as a nonprofit, became with Harvard and Penn and all that in the 1700s. In the mid-1800s, state universities, right, and things kind of democratized that way. And now you have another part of that industry, which is private, like the Phoenixes and the Waldens of the world, and the Strayers. So nonprofits will start things, and then also if industry needs to retreat, like in Philadelphia here, we've seen that with newspapers. And how the Inquirer now is owned by a nonprofit.
Is it?
Yes.
I did not know that.
And that's because it's really hard to keep up the commercial business model for journalism now.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but it's right. You're very correct. And nonprofits fill in the gap. Of, I love how you sum that up. And so we briefly talked about nonprofitcourses.com.
No, nonprofit.courses.
Okay, say it again because I don't want to mess it up.
That's all right, nonprofit.courses, because .courses is one of those new, what they call top-level domains like .com and .org.
Right.
But it's just nonprofit.courses.
And so this is your business, and why did you create this?
Well, I'll tell you, I do teaching, and I was doing some, putting together my own courses online, and I honestly, it was talking about starting a business, I was looking for a name for something else for a different project, and I was on one of those websites for naming, domain names.
Right.
And I noticed, .courses is open. That's interesting. And then I realized, nonprofit is available. So I took it, and then I said, I already have this learning management system built. Instead of just doing it for me, let's invite other people in. And so I have now 270 courses on it.
Wow, okay.
And that's not the end. I mean, there's going to be, it's always going to be growing. 190 of them are free.
And so what do these courses offer?
All sorts of things. Fundraising, right? And that's kind of where I'm from, and so I have a lot there. But then also accounting, board management, social media for nonprofits, any number of things. And these are put on by people who have their own businesses in these areas. They're experts. For them, for the content providers, well, there's really two kinds. There's some people who have them there who are charging for the course. And those are really good courses. And so, and some as low as, I think $7, I think 17 anyhow, and then all the way up to the hundreds of dollars, right? But that's a small subset. There's like 70 of them right now. The other 190 are free because people want to show their expertise. My rules are it has to be educational or train. It has to be valuable. But they can use our branding and all that. And their hope is that you like what they're doing and maybe you pick them up and do something. But it's good education. And so if somebody, for example, let's say that you're on a nonprofit board and you're going to talk about social media in nonprofits. Well, you can hit nonprofit.courses, go through a couple of videos relatively quickly anytime you want, and be ready for that meeting coming up.
And so it's like I'm going to coin this phrase, it's like the YouTube of the nonprofit world.
Yeah,
where you can
that's
go on
right.
and get things right away, because if you're not able to get into a classroom and take a grad class in nonprofit, or you're new and you just want to
Or you're a
observe
volunteer.
as much, a volunteer,
right.
so you can go on there and get some free classes, a lot of free,
a lot of good stuff,
and then some things you will pay for, but it's worth every penny of it.
And you can actually, the ones you pay for, you usually can see them for a while, and also these are other content providers. I don't know exactly, I'm not, so when I say you can see it for a while, I know the ones I put up, I just have that way. But the idea, though, is I want people to go to grad school.
Right.
I want them to go to seminars, right? Right. No, yeah, exactly. But this is the on-demand thing.
Right.
That if you need something right now, or if you need a bunch of people to be on the same page about something at a base level or even more sophisticated level, this is the place to go.
And I like that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm sharing that with you, because I work for a very large nonprofit, and so I'm like, if I have a question about something, trying to decipher through all these, different websites or different YouTube videos, I can go right to the site and know that that the content is good. I'm backing, someone who I know is an expert and has, vetted the people that are on this site. I can go on there and get some, information and share it with my colleagues. So
click early and often.
Right. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to, let the audience know about this resource that you have, especially if you're interested in the nonprofit world in it already.
Well, if your boss came to you and said, "I need something really quick," and you didn't know anything about it,
I'm like, let me
you are going to nonprofit.courses.
I got the newsletter coming, emails coming. Just if you drop in some nuggets, because it's always about. I'm one of those people that's big on just always learning.
Yeah.
I live for more knowledge, and we should never stop. So even if you've been on your job at your nonprofit for a number of years, there's still more that you can pick up to help you along that journey.
Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, and this is specialty stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because sometimes you're not going to find that in other places where you need something that's really narrow.
Right.
This is a good place to go.
Absolutely. And so I had this book, because you've written a few books. So this is one of the books that I got actually in our fundraising class. So I, had an opportunity. I think I'm gonna have to get you to sign this. But tell us about how people can get in touch with you, your consulting service.
Oh, sure. So nonprofit.courses really is the best place to go, and there's a contact form and all that there. Or matthugg.com is another way too. But those are really the best places to go. Is just go on the website and find the contact form and fill it out, and I get it all funnels to the same. I got a bunch. It goes all to the same place. And then the books are fun. That one I wrote because there were so many odd scenarios I find, and for me, it's contextualizing education is really important. You can talk about something in a really esoteric, high-level way, or you can take some really funny scenario, because I really tried to make these funny.
Yes, I was like, what kind of...
and strange and offensive and all that, right? But the idea, though, is that that's what you run into in the real world. You run into people who are quirky. You run into people who are offensive, for lack of a better term. And when you deal with that, particularly with nonprofits, you have to ask yourself, is this is this okay or not? I mean, there are a lot of decisions like that, you need to make, because people have different motivations for giving.
Absolutely.
Is it to make themselves look good? Is it to because they're devoted to God? Is it because they have a need to build the community for some reason? I mean, all sorts of ways, and I try to address that there. But also, though, it's an important thing to keep in mind is the variety of people you're going to run into in the nonprofit world.
So that makes me want to ask you a question as far as what are some of the mistakes? We can't get into all of them, but what are some of the mistakes that people make when soliciting for funds?
Right, not asking.
Not
No, seriously.
okay.
I mean,
you don't ask, you won't.
exactly. Or, well, and being reticent to ask. One of the books I think maybe we used in our class, I don't remember, this guy Henry Nouwen, he was a Catholic monk who wrote The Spirituality of Fundraising.
Yeah.
And so many people say it gives them permission because it's almost this ministering to the person you're talking to instead of just asking them.
Right.
So, but really having that, I used to do this thing where I took a little stopwatch or something and I said, so I ask you for money and we'd time it. Like what, like 5-10 seconds tops, right?
Okay.
And the whole idea is that so many people say, oh, I don't like to fundraise. Well, can you call up somebody and introduce them to somebody else? Well, yeah, of course I'd be glad to do that. Can you say thank you after? Well, of course I'd do that. Right. Can you give somebody a tour of our facility? Oh, I'd be glad to, right? What they're afraid of is that 5 seconds. That's not all of fundraising. It's all that other stuff that comes with it that's part of it. And by the time you start doing those other things and kind of engage in it, that 5 seconds isn't going to be that much of a problem. But even in letters and in writing, people bury the ask way down there because you don't want to. They're apologetic. Oh, sorry, I'm asking you for money. No.
And there's nothing to be apologetic for. There's a purpose. There's a mission behind this ask.
Well,
so you should be confident in that.
Always keep that Always keep that mission purpose. The image of, again, that child, that animal, that, whatever it is you're raising money for, that's who you're doing it for.
Right.
And so it's, in fact, it's not even, people get all caught up in, well, is it, the name of the organization or the people involved? No, it's about the person who's receiving your benefit of being there.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And that is like awesome. That's one of the reasons why I was like, okay, it takes the fear. The class took the fear away from the asking, and understanding. And then to tie it in, you guys know I'm a believer, and so to tie it into, there's a spiritual aspect, of fundraising and taking this as your service unto the people that you're trying to support. So.
No, it really makes a big difference because you are always there for them. Even if you've never met them, you want to know that you're helping somebody who really needs it, and that makes a big difference.
Right. So for the person we've talked to the person who already has a nonprofit, but for the person who is trying to get into, there's a lot, and so we can't get into everything. But are there, a few first things that they need to do if they're interested in starting a nonprofit? Yeah.
Okay. So I tell folks, I worked for a while in Ohio, and Dave Thomas, who was founder of Wendy's.
Right. Okay. When you said Dave Thomas, I was
He's
like,
the guy. Yeah. Right. He said this great thing where he didn't start Wendy's until after he worked at McDonald's. Okay. And the point is that get to know your field. The biggest issue I think a lot of folks have, they come in with a lot of passion, and that's great, and God bless them for that, right? But passion is only going to get you so far. You have to know the mechanics. You have to understand the stuff behind it, because you're going to, 90% of your work is going to be that other stuff.
Right.
And so the passion's going to drag you through those tough times, but you're going to be working on all the other things to make this work.
Absolutely.
So getting to know whatever it is in your field is really important. Getting into the head of the two folks. So you have, because the difference between businesses and nonprofits, in a business, I give you a pencil, you give me a nickel, right? We're done.
Right.
In a nonprofit, I give you, because you're pencil deprived, I give you a pencil, and I ask another person to give us a nickel to pay for that pencil.
Right.
So you have to understand both those points of view.
Okay.
Mechanically, Starting a nonprofit's in a lot of ways like starting a business. You incorporate at the state level, you declare yourself then a nonprofit, and then eventually you go for the C3 designation, right? The big thing. But that's just turning a crank. That's and you can do that. That's the least of it. But people think that's the big part. It's not so much.
There's so much that we can talk about when it comes to nonprofits. So that's why I'm going to encourage you to go to his website. Make sure you give us that again.
Yep, nonprofit.courses.
And so I so appreciate your time and you coming in and dropping the wisdom and nuggets. I just want to encourage you that, listen, if there is something on your heart to do, promise that even tonight or tomorrow you do something that will point you in that direction. So take a step. It might not be the biggest step, but take a step in the direction of where you're trying to go. You can do it, and the Lavonne Nichols Show is here to help you do that. So make sure you stay tuned to next week's episode of the Lavonne Nichols Show. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Have an awesome night.